Welcome to the show, Ciacia.
Hi, thank you.
We are so excited to chat with you today. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while now. And it is very exciting because not only do we have an amazing guest, but we also have another amazing co host. So I want to give a big shout out and have her the opportunity for her to say hello to Dr. Kimba Marshall. She's stepping in. So welcome, Kimba.
Hello, hello.
This is going to be a great episode, but with most of them, we like to start at the beginning. So, Ciacia, can you tell us how you became interested in veterinary medicine and what that sort of looked like for you?
Yeah, of course. So my interest in veterinary medicine evolved a bit different from most, as I wasn't exposed to much agriculture growing up in the city of Flint. I realized my admiration of the human-animal bond after job shadowing, participating in a vet med high school course, and asking myself a simple question. And so that simple question for me was, what job would I commit to even if I didn't get compensated for it? And for me, it was because it was contributing to vet med and working towards becoming a veterinarian. So that's how that evolved for me.
I think that's such a powerful statement to say, at such a young age, to say, what can I really commit to and give myself to? Because, so many professions are quite demanding. And I think that's just really mature. And I applaud that. I don't know that I was there when I was your age thinking about those things. But thank you definitely for sharing that with us. Can you talk to us about your journey? For me specifically, when I think about Flint, I think about water. And when I think about water, I'm thinking about public health. But just talk to us and kind of share. It's also interesting to hear you say that you weren't, surrounded by animals when you grew up. So kind of share
Mhm.
how you saw that glimmer, that spark somewhere that led you to where you are now.
Yeah, of course. So I'd say it began in my sophomore year of high school, because this was around the time we were doing our career paths, and I just had to kind of figure out what it is that I saw myself doing in the future, what it is that I had a passion in. And so I started doing jobs shadowing hours at different places. At first, I thought I wanted to be a dentist, and then I explored the option of looking into becoming a veterinarian because I've had like birds, fish, and dogs growing up. So I'm like, let's see what that's about. Um, and so I did some job shadowing at this animal hospital, and from there, I realized that, like I said earlier, the whole human animal bond kind of just sparked that interest for me. And so after high school, I went on to get my bachelor's in animal science at Michigan State University. And while I think it was my freshman year, I worked part-time at a kennel, and then after that, I didn't have much time to contribute to those hours. So I think I got more of my hours after that. I graduated and I took on a job at Cargill as an operations management associate at a beef processing plant. And here I more so wanted to like take that time to take a gap year and further expand upon like my soft and hard skills just as like a professional, because I knew if I wanted to become a veterinarian I should be like a well-rounded individual. So I took this time to do that, and also obtain more animal experience hours in the process. And so that opportunity allowed me to do that. And then moving to California from Michigan was a huge step. So I thought that that'd grow me up a little bit more as well. So that was really, really cool. Once I started my position with Cargill, I wanted to like get on the process of applying for vet school because I knew I just wanted to take a gap year. I didn't want to like take too much time off of school. And so I started exploring the different opportunities that were available. And I was working like 60-hour work weeks. And so I had to be practical in terms of preparing for the GRE and when to apply to vet school. But I soon realized that international schools didn't require the GRE. And so I just went ahead in 2020 and applied to a few international schools. And I just figured this would be like the best time to study abroad and really just apply myself in a different environment and continue to grow. And I applied to the Royal Vet College, which is where I am now, and Massey University, Glasgow. I applied to those were the ones that I remember because I got accepted and waitlisted for those couple universities. Glasgow accepted me, Massey University waitlisted me, and then um, it was the RVC that also accepted me. So, and once I got to that point, I was just flabbergasted because it's kind of crazy, kind of seeing like all of your hard work paying off and your dreams and aspirations coming into fruition. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I had no idea that you didn't have to take the GRE to do international school. So that's just another piece of it because there are individuals. I think it makes sense the way you put it about your timing and studying and getting all that. There's also a subset of people that just don't standardize test well, but everything else looks great. So that's like a barrier in some
Yeah.
instances. I jotted down a couple of notes of things I wanted to talk about. And one of them was just that, you said you were interested in being a dentist. And I think in veterinary medicine, we get to do so much and little pieces of things. And I'm also thinking that we have a huge benefit because every time I go to the dentist, I think, how would it be working in a mirror the whole time? Like working with that teeny little, and our patients are anesthetized. We get to, clean their teeth that way. So hopefully you're getting to fulfill some of those other dreams. I also am just truly in awe and sort of inspired. And Kimba kind of hit on this earlier of just your level of maturity and self-awareness to recognize that you need all these skills to be successful in this profession. And I know these apply to other professions too, but you said something about the soft and the hard skills. And I think sometimes we focus too much on the clinical aspects of veterinary medicine, and that's what we need in the science and just all of that. And a lot of it is communication and boundary setting and you're understanding what you need to be successful. So I just wanted to pull out and make sure people paid attention to that because that is so critical. I think we put unnecessary time pressures on ourselves that we just have to go get into vet school and start fulfilling this. But spending a year or more kind of learning about yourself, I feel probably translates into a more successful transition to vet school. Has that helped, do you think, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has definitely helped in terms of just me being prepared in the actual clinical setting because I've gone out into like different placements and I'm able to kind of just step back and interact a bit more efficiently. And that's just like outside of like you said, the scientific way of things within vet med and applying yourself there. So yeah, I think it definitely helped. And it also helped mentally because of after going to school for so many years back to back, you kind of just need that break where you
Mhm.
can kind of take a step back and work on different aspects of yourself as well.
Mhm. And so I am curious. It honestly never really occurred to me to apply to international school. So I would love to hear what you did to prepare for that move and what that kind of transition was like, and if there's been sort of any challenges that you've had to navigate, in that area.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just comes with the territory of being an international student in general. Um, in all honesty, I think just using my resources that were available to me, whether that was just my peers and the university itself. And so luckily, we had like Facebook groups where we could send out questions and ask others who have already gone through the process of moving abroad, how did they get to that point, and what were some things that they would have wished they known prior to. And so with the whole student visa process, I think that alone, since we were still in the peak of COVID in 2021 a bit with that, that was a bit exasperated with the timeline of things, but it wasn't that hard of an application process. Beyond that, I had to apply for a healthcare surcharge, or I think I not apply for, I had to pay for a healthcare surcharge. And that just covered like anytime I go to the doctor here, I'll just have to pay like a smaller fee. And I think that's is probably more specific to the UK, but that was a pretty penny, but it was worth it, of course, because healthcare is quite great in the UK, I'd say. Beyond that, it was a lot of tiny things that you wouldn't have thought of, like cell phone, like you would need a new SIM card, getting a bank account here, and finding a place to live. Since I have a Great Dane, I had to, that alone was a process to get her here, but also finding a place off campus to live. That was really interesting because I did that honestly through the Facebook group, our student Facebook group. I reached out and most people will post like, "Hey, like I found a place, we need a roommate." And it's a bit weird that like you meet your new roommates through like a website essentially, and then you just pop up and that's how, you know, you go from there. And I don't know. It was pretty wild. But yeah, it was just all about using the resources that was available.
Well, speaking of resources available, I had the absolute pleasure of meeting Ciacia through my role as executive consultant for the Diversify Veterinary Medical Coalition. And we wanted to provide travel grants for veterinary students, for veterinarians to attend meetings. We've done this several times. Most recently, we've done this to invite folks to come with us to the AVMA. So, Ciacia, when you think about what drew you to the DVMC scholarship and staying in that same thread there about resources, talk to us about what drew you to the scholarship, and then also talk to us about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been following the DVMC on social media for quite a while now, and let me just start off by saying that the DVMC is alone is just a great attribute to vet med, and also that opportunity to attend the AVMA convention through this travel grant was something I couldn't pass up because I wanted to go so that I could expand my networking and expand um, just the knowledge that I do have to build upon it with the continuing education sessions. Um, and as a first year student, it was just something that I think I could have really benefited from. And I did. I'd say I left the convention with a strong sense of belonging in veterinary medicine prior to attending. Like I knew I belonged, but after attending and networking with people and just talking with people, it really solidified that for me because it's such a welcoming space, and it's very like heartwarming to be in an environment where people ask you, "How are you really?" Questions like that, I just really took to heart, and I really appreciate it because these are the questions that not many people ask you. Um, and in addition to that, I had the opportunity of gaining an astounding mentor, Dr. Bernard Hodges. I put myself out there and I asked if that was something he'd have time to take on or, be willing to. And I was able to secure a mentor. So that was great in itself. And I'm just so grateful for the travel grant because without it, I don't know if I would have made it there. And there just would have been so many things I would have missed out on.
That's so wonderful, and what we were hoping for when we thought about bringing folks to the convention. But I cannot pass that last comment. I'm a bit of an extrovert, so for me, networking and meeting people is what I do. But to hear you say you had to put yourself out there, talk to us more about that, because so many times we know that students and young professionals are like, I feel intimidated. I walked into this room. I don't know anyone. Give us some of those tips, like what you said to yourself to say, self, I am going to make the most of this experience.
Yeah, of course. And that's exactly what I had to do right there. I say because prior to the convention, I didn't know exactly who was going to be there. I knew there were two other grant recipients, but I didn't know them personally. And so I kind of felt like when I arrived, I was like there on my own in a sense. But I also had to sit down and just make a goal or like certain goals that I wanted to have for this convention and what I wanted out of this convention. And for me, it was, like I said, to make new networks. And I did want a mentor. And just so with that, I knew that I just had to step out of my comfort zone because that's where you grow and speak up and just put myself out there. And I mean, the worst that could have happened was who knows? But at the end of the day, like you gain that confidence and you build on that confidence. And I think that goes into every other aspect of your life. And even in veterinary medicine, you need that confidence when you're speaking to client owners and or clients and the patient's owners and all of that nature. Um, and it I don't know. I just think that having that confidence and being an introvert is something that needs to mesh and you need to have.
I love that you made goals for yourself. I think that's something that we should all do because you get there at any conference. I don't care how big or small it is, and you can get overwhelmed very easily because it is at heart we all really do like to learn. And so it is very easy to get pulled in a lot of different directions to the sessions or meeting people and things like that. But if you stay true to kind of the goals that you set for yourself, and it's okay if they change, but I think going in with an idea of what you'd like to accomplish is like it's something I'm going to start doing. That is such a great idea. And I love, you said the worst thing that could have happened. I think we're all scared of people saying no. And I love how you phrased it with Dr. Hodges, though, like if he would have time. And I bet I'm going out on a limb here, but just knowing the profession like I do, if he truly did not feel he had time, my guess is he would be able to recommend someone to you. So the no wouldn't even be a final no. And that's the beauty of those conferences because the other person probably would have been there and they could have brokered an introduction. So I love that. I think we just have to get over our fear of people saying no. And I don't know what that is or where it comes from, but I am so glad you did that because he is pretty incredible. We had the opportunity to talk to him on the podcast, and I felt very similarly when he was at the veterinary leadership conference of I just had to basically I'm an extrovert, but I was a little intimidated too because he'd just given this amazing keynote. He's on TV and I'm like, I'm just gonna go say hi. And that was it's really cool. And it's gonna serve those skills are gonna serve you so well, even if as a self-proclaimed introvert. It's worth the internal battle a little bit or pushing yourself. I would say. I have a couple logistical questions. I don't know what the structure of your school is like. Do you guys get summer breaks in between your like we do traditionally on the state side? And then what does your dog travel back with you? Or how do you do your breaks and things like that?
Yeah, so we do get a summer break. We also get like a winter break and a spring break. But the spring break, it's actually a really large allotted time because we're also expected to do our placements during that time. So they give us like an extra few weeks. But typically I'd ask, there's like a group of students who have dogs or yeah, mostly dogs that will like collaborate and just like take care of one another's pets when we're out on placements or something of that nature. Specifically this summer, I actually reached out to a peer of mine whose parent knew of someone else that could watch my dog. So I just, asked around mostly and used those around me to try to figure out how I could get her taken care of. Because it'd be too, she's already a big dog. So it'd be too much to get her to travel with me in most places. But it's great that I do have that sort of kind of security in a way because I know that I do have others who like dogs. Thankfully, vet students, shout out to us, that will take on, a pet and won't, bat an eye. But beyond that, like the structure of like our academics is it's crazy to me. Still, I'm still adjusting. So like instead of having exams and things throughout the term, we just have exams at the end of each term. So it's like kind of like a final after each term, which is an adjustment because I'm used to having pop quizzes, tests leading up to at least that final test at the end of the term. But here's a bit different. And I think this way of going about things forces you to hold yourself accountable and to stay disciplined because if you don't, then it could really end not so good for you. But there is a safety net as well, which is something that I'm grateful for. Like we have exam resits so that if you don't pass, you do get an opportunity to resit those exams. And then if worse comes to worse, you do have the opportunity to resit the entire year, which is pretty nice considering the amount of information that we're expected to know. So I say that would be the biggest challenge, academic challenge so far for me here at the RVC. I do believe other international schools have the same setup. Glasgow and Scotland, they have the same setup as well. Um, but yeah, that was a huge game changer for me and something that I had to just get used to. I'm still getting used to it, but anything you put your mind to and you consistently work on, you get the hang of it eventually.
Yeah, great job. Great job. I'm like, I'm gonna go back to vet school and do it the way Ciacia did it. But now talk to us. So with the again the logistics, right? Because it's completely new to me. When you're doing your placements, are your placements done internationally or are your placements done stateside?
Um, we have the opportunity to do both. Like we could go to France and do a dairy placement. We could go just about anywhere. There is a cap. I think there's like a certain amount of weeks we can do abroad, but other than that, we could just go within the UK. It's really flexible, and honestly, I think it's the best thing because some regions of the world you can experience um, just a bit of a different like agriculture per se or the way they go about doing things, which is very astounding, especially if you do plan on practicing medicine abroad just in general, which is something I'd like to do. But we'll see, because things change and my interests may change tomorrow. But I'm all about staying open. But yeah, so we are able to do our placements anywhere. I have a dairy placement next week. And it is south south of London. The exact place, I'll have to look at my calendar, but I know it's like on the borders of the UK, but I'm excited, so I'm sure it'll be tons of fun.
Great. So for those folks who are considering veterinary medicine, considering taking a chance on something, what piece of advice would you give or would you offer?
I'd say this. I'd say if you can vividly see it, there's no reason why it can't become reality. Nothing is closed off to you. Endless opportunities are readily available and they are here. And I feel like this is also something that somebody can just repeat to themselves. It can be sort of an affirmation that anything that you want to apply yourself to, anything you aspire to be, you can do just that. And no matter the timeline, no matter the obstacles that come your way, there's always a way to get to that destination. So, yeah.
I that's incredible. And for me it goes back to what you talked about at the very beginning when you said to determine that you were going to go into veterinary medicine, of like, what job would I do if even if I didn't get compensated, or what would my passion be even if I didn't get compensated. It's it's always going to ground you and take you back to your why, no matter what you're doing, whether it's veterinary medicine or something outside of veterinary medicine. So I think that is very well said, and I am so appreciative that you shared that with us. I wasn't able to write it all down quickly enough, but that's the beauty of podcasting, is that I can go back and listen to it again and again. And I have learned so much from you today. I'm going to be more intentional when I approach, conferences and gatherings like that. So I'm going to set out some goals for myself. And maybe that's even like, I'm getting these ideas. I'm on the planning committee for the Veterinary Leadership Conference. And wouldn't that be cool if there's a spot in the app for you to like intentionally write down what your goals are and kind of try to hold yourself accountable for that. I've learned so much. So I want to thank you again. I know you're very busy. I mean, you have a placement coming up soon and you have a lot going on. So thank you for being so generous with your time and your story. I hope, well, it's inspired me, and I hope it's inspired others to grow their networks and community and to explore these options of scholarships that might be available for things even outside of veterinary school. I think we often think of scholarships towards tuition and things like that, but it can also help in so many other ways. So I'm very appreciative to you today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And Kimba, I'm so thankful you were able to join us too, and part of making those scholarships possible. Do you have anything that we didn't cover that you hoped that we would cover today?
Just for me, I mean, as I said when we were together at AVMA, the reason that I decided to join as executive consultant for the Diversified Veterinary Medical Coalition is because of wonderful, engaging, amazing young people like Ciacia. I mean, I thought I had it going on when I was in vet school, and I'm listening and I'm like, oh, wow. Just wow. Wow. So, I mean, I just could not be more thrilled that we as a profession are really taking to heart the things that we've been talking about, especially coming through the pandemic, something that we're still dealing with, which is how can we be more professional and more collegial? And I think that this is just the start of it. I mean, I know so many people because of my veterinary life, and my hope for Ciacia and for the entire profession is that we really take the opportunity to learn from one another and be inspired and realize that we're not alone.
Yeah, that's really well said. Thank you again, both.